Dear seekers of light, to all of you who walk with me through these mysteries, I bow in gratitude. You have given me the most precious gift a soul can offer, your time. I promise you this, your trust will not be betrayed. For every moment you spend here, I shall give back light, wisdom, and truth. Together we walk the path back to the eternal source. He who seeks the highest must first confront the archons. He must recognize their shadows within his own heart and strip them away. Only then does the soul unburdened ascend beyond the spheres to dwell in the light of the ineffable. Thus begins the path of Gnosis, not belief, not doctrine, but direct knowledge. It is the inner fire of remembrance, the awakening of that spark which no prison of flesh, no chain of matter, and no decree of false rulers can extinguish. For the archons are not only cosmic powers, they are the fears, the desires, the illusions that dwell within us. To name them is to see them. To see them is to unmask them, and to set them aside is the first act of liberation. Yet know this, seeker. Though the archons and the cosmic forces seem vast and terrible, though the struggle appears as one destined for defeat, man carries within himself the divine spark. Stronger than any power of shadow, it comes from the very unity of the source. It rests in you, waiting only to be freed. This is the hidden strength that no ruler of this world can overcome, and this is the mystery revealed in this path, that the infinite dwells within the finite. This video will show you how to remember it and how to set it free. Remember this, seeker. The chains of the soul are forged not by the stars above, but by our own forgetfulness. And the key to freedom has always been hidden within your very being. Now understand this. In this journey we shall pass through 7 gates of knowledge. Each gate is a threshold, each threshold a trial, and each trial a revelation. Remain with me until the end, for only by walking through all 7 gates does the hidden picture emerge in its fullness. Gate 1. The birth of Gnosticism and Hermetism. Nearly 2,000 years ago, in the lands where Greek wisdom met the mysteries of Egypt and the rising voice of Christianity, a secret knowledge emerged. This current of thought came to be known as Gnosticism, and alongside it the sacred writings of Hermetism. Both arose in the first centuries of our era, especially in Alexandria, a city where faiths, philosophies, and myths intertwined. The Gnostics whispered of a hidden truth, forbidden to the masses but preserved in secret gospels, texts like the secret book of James, where Christ himself speaks not to the crowds, but to the few who dare to seek beyond appearances. In these revelations, he unveiled the nature of the Heavenly Father, the bondage of the human soul, and the rulers who sought to enslave mankind. Listen to the words attributed to the Savior, calls to awaken from sleep, to resist the falsifiers of knowledge, to refuse the chains of the false rulers. In his voice echoes a warning and a promise that those who dare to seek will be opposed not only by the powers of the world, but also by their own fear and forgetfulness. The Gnostic voice survives in 4 great secret gospels that speak with the direct fire of revelation: the Apocryphon of John, the secret book of James, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and the Gospel of Thomas. In these writings, the words of Jesus appear not as filtered tradition, but as piercing light, urging the seeker to awaken, to cast off deception, and to recognize the divine within. Such texts were not meant for the many, but for those with ears to hear. They offered not mere stories, but keys to hidden doors of the soul. At the same time, another stream flowed through Alexandria, Hermetism. Attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, it spoke of a cosmos alive with spirit, of man as a mirror of the divine, and of the ascent of the soul beyond the material spheres. Hermetism taught that the seeker must purify the heart, shed the garments of illusion, and remember his origin in the One. Thus, Gnosticism was never a doctrine meant for comfort. It was a flame for the restless, a key for those who felt that the world of appearances was not the final truth. And Hermetism, its sister current, proclaimed the same, that man is more than flesh, more than fate, more than the stars, for within him dwells a fragment of the divine. Gate 2. The Pleroma and the Drama of Sophia. Beyond the shifting illusions of the world, the Gnostics spoke of the Pleroma, the fullness. It is the realm of pure light, the dwelling of the Father, and the eternal aeons, emanations of the divine. From this eternal harmony all being flowed, radiant and uncorrupted. The aeons were the radiant emanations of the divine mind, each a living principle, such as truth, life, grace, wisdom. They are not gods in rivalry, but harmonies of the One, facets of the eternal jewel. Each aeon reflects an aspect of the source, and together they form the Pleroma, the fullness beyond all lack. Yet within this perfection one mystery unfolded. Sophia, the aeon of wisdom, longed to create from her own will, apart from her divine consort. In her desire to bring forth life by herself, she generated a being outside the harmony of the Pleroma. From this solitary act came forth Yaldabaoth, a being of power but lacking in true knowledge of the source. Cast out from the Pleroma, he became the Demiurge, the false god who claimed dominion over creation. Blinded by ignorance and pride, Yaldabaoth created the visible universe, and with the help of his archons, formed the first human beings. Yet into this human body, without his knowing, slipped a spark of Sophia's own light, a piece of divinity itself, concealed within the shell of flesh. Thus was born the great paradox, that man is bound in chains by rulers who are themselves exiles, yet within him dwells the light of eternity. The archons sought to enslave, but unknowingly carried into their creation the very key to liberation. This drama of Sophia is not merely myth. It is the mirror of our own condition. For each soul has forgotten its origin, yet carries within itself the seed of return. To awaken to this truth is to remember that we are not children of the Demiurge, but of the infinite light. Gate 3. The Archons and the Inner Prison. Who then are these Archons, the rulers born of the Demiurge's ignorance? To the ancients they were cosmic powers, each tied to a planetary sphere. They governed the cycles of matter, the laws of decay, and the bonds of destiny. Yet to the Gnostic, these rulers were more than distant gods. They were chains within the human soul. Each archon mirrors a passion, a fear, a distortion of truth. The ancients spoke of 7 in particular, each tied to a planetary sphere, one bound with arrogance, another with greed, another with despair, another with envy, another with wrath, another with lust, and another with deceit. These 7 powers were said to weave the net of fate and to keep the soul from remembering its origin. They are the voices that say you are only flesh, that you are powerless, that you are divided from the source. To struggle against them in the heavens is impossible, but to confront them within is the true battle of Gnosis. Thus, the prison is not made of iron bars, but of illusions. The Archons are not only cosmic rulers, they live in our own thoughts and emotions. Their power endures only because we forget who we truly are. When a person passes through life without self-reflection, he remains their prisoner. But when he begins to notice these forces shaping his feelings and choices, their hold over him begins to fade. To name an archon means to recognize the mask it wears. When you see it clearly, you take back a piece of your freedom. And when you learn to rise above its influence, you begin the soul's journey upward, back toward the light that no darkness can ever cover. Gate 4. The Hermetic Echoes. The teachings of Hermetism explain this struggle in simple images. They describe the soul rising step by step through the 7 levels of the heavens. At each level, the soul must let go of something heavy: pride, greed, despair, envy, anger, lust, or deceit. Gnostic texts sometimes describe these as the garments of the archons, symbols of the burdens the soul carries. In Hermetism, they are not always called by this name, but the idea is similar. The soul must release heavy qualities one by one in order to rise. And only by dropping them one by one can the soul move upward. Hermes Trismegistus taught that human beings are a reflection of the whole universe. Inside us live both lower impulses and higher light. The stars and planets may push us in certain directions, but they cannot force us. The true self, the divine image within, can rise above every influence. The Hermetic path reminds us, we are not slaves of fate, but co-creators in the work of freedom. As the soul moves upward, leaving behind the marks of the archons, it becomes lighter, clearer, and freer. Finally, it remembers its true origin, the one beyond all worlds. Here, Gnosticism and Hermetism agree. The soul is greater than its chains. By removing what is false, we return to what is eternal. Gate 5. Astrology as the map of the archons. The ancients also looked to the stars and saw a reflection of this same struggle. Each of the 7 planets was believed to be linked with an archon, shaping the patterns of human life. Saturn was linked with the archon of fear and limitation, Jupiter with pride and false authority, Mars with anger and violence, the Sun with arrogance and the illusion of self-glory, Venus with lust and desire, Mercury with deceit and trickery, and the Moon with changeability and confusion. Together, these spheres of influence were said to press upon the soul as it journeyed through the world. Astrology was not meant to say we are trapped by fate. Instead, it offered a map, a way to understand where the forces of the archons weigh heaviest upon us. Your birth chart, the arrangement of the heavens at the moment you entered this world, was read as a mirror. It showed both your strengths and your struggles, the places where you are most tested, and the qualities you must balance to rise. Thus, the stars are not cages but teachers. They point to the inner battles we must face. By knowing how these influences move within us, we can choose with greater clarity. Astrology becomes a sacred tool of Gnosis, not a sentence but guidance. It helps the seeker see which chains are tightest and where the work of freedom must begin. Gate 6. The path of purification and ascent. If the archons weigh upon us and the stars reveal their influences, then what is the way forward? The path is purification, a gradual cleansing of the soul from the heavy forces that keep it bound. To purify means to observe yourself with honesty. When fear rises, recognize it and do not let it rule you. When pride whispers, remember your smallness before the infinite. When anger burns, choose peace. When lust pulls, remember the higher love that gives rather than takes. Every choice in daily life becomes an offering. Will you serve the archon or the divine spark within you? This is not about perfection, but about direction. Step by step, by naming these forces and refusing their chains, the soul grows lighter. It is like climbing a mountain. Each layer of fog left behind reveals a clearer sky. The journey is hard, but every small victory is a step upward. The Gnostics and Hermetists both taught that ascent is possible here and now. The temple is your own heart, the altar your daily actions, and the sacrifice is the false self you shed. The more you purify, the more you remember, and the more you remember, the more the divine spark within you shines. Thus, purification is not punishment but freedom. It is the art of choosing the eternal over the fleeting, the true over the false. It is the soul's path back to its origin, the light beyond all shadows. Gate 7, the return to the light. The final gate is not an end, but a homecoming. After the struggles with the archons, after the release of the heavy garments, after the long climb through the spheres, the soul awakens to what it always was, a child of the infinite light. The return is simple yet profound. It is the recognition that the source was never far away. The spark within you is of the same essence as the pleroma itself. To remember this is to be free, for no ruler, no fate, no shadow can hold what belongs to eternity. Here, the journey of Gnosis reveals its purpose, not escape, but remembrance. Not flight from the world, but the discovery that even within the world, the divine shines. The true victory is not over the cosmos, but over ignorance. Thus, the path of 7 gates closes in the same light in which it began, and the voice of wisdom whispers, "You are not broken, you are not lost. You are the living reflection of the Eternal One. Awaken and return to your true home, the light that never ends." I, Solon, have come only to remind you of what has always been within you. The wisdom of the ancients is not complicated nor lost in distant temples. It is simple, direct, and alive. The key to awakening from the sleep of forgetfulness. These teachings of Gnosis and Hermetism were given so that humanity might find its way back to the Father of Light, the one source beyond all names. They are not meant to confuse, but to guide, not to burden, but to liberate. They show that the path of freedom is not far away, but in the choices you make, in the purity you reclaim, in the remembrance of who you truly are. I speak these words so that humanity may rise, not in pride, but in clarity, not in arrogance, but in love. The road of 7 gates is open to all who dare to walk it. Beyond them waits the Eternal Father, the unity from which all being flows. Seeker, the light has never left you. Excited, awaken, and walk the path of return. For you are, and have always been, a child of the One.